When Mom passed, all we had left were her memories and her jewelry box. Every piece carried a story: birthdays, anniversaries, sacrifices. But one day that box was gone, and with it, nearly $60,000 worth of her jewelry. My sister had taken it, smiling like nothing was wrong. I felt my chest tighten with betrayal, but instead of shouting, I stayed silent and called my lawyer. 2 weeks later, she didn't find applause for her theft. She found legal papers waiting at her door. Tell me, have you ever trusted family only to be forced to fight for what was rightfully yours? Grief does strange things to families. Some people pull closer together, clinging to memories. Others drift apart, consumed by their own pain. In my family, grief uncovered something far uglier: greed. After the funeral, we gathered at Mom's house. The air was heavy, but her presence was still everywhere. The photos on the mantle, the scent of her favorite perfume lingering in the curtains, the jewelry box she kept tucked safely in her dresser. That jewelry wasn't just gold and diamonds. It was her history. A ring she wore every Sunday at church, the necklace Dad gave her on their 20th anniversary, the bracelet she promised I'd inherit one day. Together, the pieces were worth nearly $60,000, but to me, they were priceless. I assumed we'd sit down as a family, sort through everything with respect. But before I could even bring it up, my sister acted first. One afternoon, I arrived at the house to find drawers open, boxes missing, and the jewelry box gone. My stomach dropped. "Where's Mom's jewelry?" I asked, my voice trembling. My sister smirked, shrugging like it was nothing. I took it. Mom always liked me best. Besides, you wouldn't appreciate it the way I do. Her words hit harder than any slap. That jewelry wasn't yours to take. It was meant for both of us. She crossed her arms. What's done is done. You can have some of her clothes if it makes you feel better. I felt my blood boil, but I said nothing. Not then. Because I knew anger wouldn't solve this. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at old photos of Mom wearing that necklace, that ring, that bracelet. My heart ached, not just for the jewelry, but for the trust that had been shattered. I called my sister once more, hoping she'd see reason. "Please," and I said, "we need to divide Mom's things fairly." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Good luck with that." That's when I made my decision. If she wanted to play cruel, I would play smart. The next morning, I called a lawyer, because sometimes justice doesn't come from shouting. It comes from paperwork. The next morning, I sat across from a polished oak desk, hands folded tightly in my lap. The lawyer listened patiently as I recounted everything: Mom's passing, the jewelry box, my sister's smug dismissal. "She took it all," I whispered. "Nearly $60,000 worth. But it wasn't just money. It was Mom's legacy." He nodded, sliding a legal pad toward me. "Do you have proof of ownership?" I pulled out photographs. Mom at Christmas with the emerald necklace, Dad's birthday party where she wore the diamond earrings, the gold bracelet wrapped around her wrist in almost every family photo. The lawyer studied them carefully. "Good. This helps establish provenance. And if there's a will..." I reached into my purse, unfolding the document with trembling hands. Mom had been clear. Her possessions were to be split equally between us. The lawyer's brow furrowed. "Then your sister violated the terms of the will. That's not just unfair, it's unlawful. We can file a petition with the court to have the jewelry returned or its value compensated." Hearing those words steadied me. For weeks, I'd felt powerless, like Mom's memory had been stolen right out of my hands. Now I felt a flicker of control returning. Still, guilt gnawed at me. "She's my sister," I said softly. How part of me feels like I'm betraying her by taking this route. The lawyer's voice was firm but kind. "You're not betraying her. She betrayed you. She betrayed your mother's wishes. Standing up for yourself isn't cruelty, it's justice." I exhaled slowly, the knot in my chest loosening just a little. We went through the paperwork line by line: petition for probate enforcement, demand for accounting of assets, request for equitable distribution. Each page felt heavy, but with every signature I felt a strange mix of sadness and strength. When I left the office, a folder of documents tucked under my arm, I paused on the courthouse steps. The spring air was cool, the world buzzing with life, and for the first time since Mom's passing, I felt I was doing something that honored her, not by fighting my sister, but by protecting her legacy. That evening, I sat in my quiet kitchen, staring at the stack of papers. I thought about Mom, about how she always told us to do what's right, even when it's hard. Tears welled in my eyes. I didn't want to fight my sister. I wanted us to lean on each other, to share grief, to carry Mom's memory together. But she'd made her choice, and now I was making mine. 2 days later, the lawyer sent the official notice, and just like that, the balance began to shift. Because while my sister thought she could walk away with jewels in her pocket, she hadn't expected the weight of the law to knock on her door. The call came on a Thursday evening. I was washing dishes when the phone buzzed. Her name flashed across the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice came through sharp and panicked. "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "A lawyer? Court papers? Are you out of your mind?" I dried my hands slowly. "I told you we needed to divide Mom's things fairly. You laughed at me. So I did what I had to do. You're making me look like a criminal," she hissed. I stayed calm. "I didn't make you look that way." "Your actions did." For once, she didn't have a quick comeback. The silence on the line was heavy, broken only by her uneven breathing. Finally, she muttered, "You didn't have to take it this far. We're family." I almost laughed at the irony. Family? Family doesn't steal $60,000 worth of jewelry and tell the other to deal with it. Family doesn't reduce Mom's legacy to selfishness. Her tone shifted from anger to desperation. "What do you want from me?" I answered firmly. "I want what Mom wanted. Half. Either the jewelry comes back or you pay me for my share. And this time, it won't be your choice. It'll be the court's." She cursed under her breath. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." When I hung up, my hands trembled, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally standing tall. Over the next week, I heard from cousins and distant relatives. Word had spread. "Your sister's furious," one said. "She thought she could get away with it." Another added, "Good for you." Someone had to put her in her place. It wasn't about gossip for me. It was about justice. But I won't lie. Hearing the tide turn in my favor felt like a balm on wounds that had been raw for too long. Then came the day she had to meet with a lawyer. She walked into the office, her posture stiff, her face pale under her makeup. I sat across the table, calm, papers neatly stacked before me. The lawyer explained the options: return the jewelry in full, or compensate me for half its appraised value. If she refused, the case would proceed to court, where she risked far worse outcomes. Her jaw tightened. "This is ridiculous." "They're just things," I met her eyes. "If they were just things, you wouldn't have stolen them." The words landed like a stone. She flinched, looking away. For the first time since Mom's passing, the power dynamic had shifted. No more smirks, no more dismissals. She wasn't in control anymore. The meeting ended with her storming out, muttering under her breath. But I didn't follow. I didn't beg. I didn't shrink. Because the papers were already filed, the process already moving. And as I walked out of that office, the spring sun warm on my face, I realized something profound. She had Mom's jewelry, but I had Mom's strength, and in the end, that was far more valuable. The weeks that followed were tense. My sister avoided me, but she couldn't avoid the reality of the papers. The lawyer had set clear deadlines, and each passing day pushed her closer to a courtroom she didn't want to face. Finally, she called. Her voice was tight, subdued. "I can't fight this," she admitted. "I'll bring the jewelry back, but I want this over." When she arrived at my house, she carried the jewelry box in both hands, like it weighed 100 pounds. Her eyes darted everywhere but mine as she set it down on the table. "There," she muttered. "Happy?" I opened the box slowly. The emerald necklace, the diamond earrings, the gold bracelet, all there, gleaming as though Mom herself had just polished them. My throat tightened, tears pricking my eyes. "It's not about being happy," I said quietly. "It's about doing what's right." She shifted uncomfortably. "I guess I didn't think you'd fight me." I closed the box with a firm click. "That was your mistake." From that day forward, things changed between us. She still came to family gatherings, still smiled for photos, but the smugness was gone. She kept her distance, careful with her words around me. Other relatives noticed too. My cousin pulled me aside once and whispered, "You showed all of us something that day. That quiet doesn't mean weak." And she was right. For so long, I'd carried the role of the overlooked one, the peacekeeper, the one who stayed silent to avoid conflict. But this time, silence wasn't enough. This time, I had raised my voice through action, through the weight of a lawyer's letterhead, through the firm line that said, "No more." I didn't do it out of revenge. I did it because Mom deserved better, because her memory deserved respect, not theft, because I deserved fairness. Now, when I look at her jewelry, I don't just see gemstones. I see lessons. The necklace reminds me of Mom's strength. The bracelet reminds me of her sacrifices. And the earrings remind me that even small things can shine with enormous value. But above all, I see proof that standing up for yourself, even against family, is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. I kept half of the jewelry, as Mom intended, and let my sister take the other half, fair and square. It wasn't about hoarding everything. It was about balance, about finally honoring Mom's wishes instead of one person's greed. And though my sister never said the words out loud, her actions spoke clearly. She knew she'd been wrong. For me, that was enough. Because in the end, justice didn't just return a box of jewelry. It returned my dignity. And I think Mom would have been proud. In the end, it wasn't about diamonds or gold. It was about respect. My sister thought she could snatch $60,000 worth of jewelry and rewrite Mom's legacy. But she didn't expect the weight of justice, or the strength I carried. Those papers weren't just legal documents. They were a reminder that silence is not weakness. And family bonds don't excuse betrayal. I didn't fight to win riches. I fought to honor my mother, to stand for fairness, and to remind everyone that dignity has a value no one can steal. So let me ask you, have you ever been forced to stand up to your own family when they crossed the line? Did they ever see you differently afterward? Share your story in the comments, and stay with us for more tales where truth and courage outshine greed.